years, going through 4 hiking seasons in a year. As you go through the hikes, you'll gather forest, mountain, sunshine, and water tokens as you experience those things in nature. And these tokens can be used to visit more parks or to buy items. season is the season of wind. Gear costs 1 less sun to buy. So each season will have a bit of its own flair that will impact gameplay. Then you have this upkeep section down here, which has some symbols to tell you what to do at the end of a season, at the end of the game. this one, you would place one water token on it, and in exchange, get a forest token. This one gives you 2 sun tokens. This one allows you to swap out for a wildlife token or to visit a park. So there are all kinds of different actions that you can use with tokens, but you don't know what you'll get. Once you've gained a canteen, you will be able to use this canteen whenever you are gathering water, as long as the canteen isn't already filled with water. So in general, you get to do it about once per season. So the way you'll use this is when you are gaining water tokens, instead of placing one of those water tokens in your resource pile, you would place it on the canteen card and activate the ability. The water will remain on the canteen and be discarded at the end of the season. If instead of the canteen you choose the photo option on this site, you can spend 2 tokens to get 1 photo, and then you also get the camera. It can be any 2 tokens of your choosing, and you get 1 of these photos, which on the back you can see are each worth 1 point. However, if you landed here and you already had the camera, it only costs you 1 token to get a photo. Also, if you have the camera at the end of the season, you can take an extra photo for 1 token. Just some general knowledge that's useful for these sites is whenever you see a brown square that represents tokens. So this has 1 and a brown square, that's 1 token. This has 2 tokens. As I mentioned, there are also a number of advanced sites, so I'll go through those now. The first one I already mentioned, you can turn 1 token into a wildlife token. This one allows you to swap 1 token for another type of token, but it can be wildlife, and you can do this action twice. This one allows you to either visit a park or purchase gear. This one allows you to spend a water token to copy an action that another hiker is currently on. So if you wanted to copy what this hiker is doing, you could spend a water and do that action. So those are all the advanced sites, but if you are playing with 4 or 5 players, they also have this extra site that is sun and water. As you are going along this trail, you cannot go to a site that another hiker is on, even if it's your own hiker. The only exception to this is this campfire. So every single person will have a campfire lit at the beginning of the game. And if you want to go on a site that someone's already on, you can flip your campfire to extinguish it. And it can't be used again until it is relit. purchased it. But some of the gear cards also have an immediate ability that happens when you purchase it, so be sure to read your card. So for example, these two both have a little lightning symbol, and that is the immediate ability. So this one you can immediately take a photo, this one you can immediately draw a canteen. The third thing you could choose to do at the trail end is visit a park. So this is spending the cost listed at the bottom of the park and then placing it in your area, and now you have those victory points. You can choose from any of these 3 visible parks or a park that you previously reserved. Unlike the other sites, multiple people can go on a single spot on the trail end. However, there are certain bonuses you get for being the first one to arrive and complete that action. They sort of have an odd format, but essentially the first person that reserves a park will get the first player token for the next season. The first player to purchase gear will get to take a sun, and there's no bonus for being the first to visit a park. Also, if you are playing 4 or 5 player, then the first 2 people to purchase gear will get a sun token. Once both of your hikers has reached the trail end, you are done for the season, and you'll wait out the other hikers. When only one hiker of all of the players combined is left on the trail, that final hiker's next turn must move them to the trail end. So this kind of wraps things up to make sure no one's straggling along. Once everyone's hikers are at the trail end, the season is over, and you'll set up for the next season. They have a little notation here in the upkeep section to remind you of the 3 actions to do at season end. So first, the player with the camera can spend 1 token to get another photo at this point. Second, each player will discard any water tokens that they had on their canteen cards. And then, of course, you will return your hikers to the trailhead. Also, if you had forgotten to relight your campfire before, it should be lit now. So now I'll go through setting up the subsequent seasons. So you will randomly pick one of these advanced sites, and you will add it to the stack of sites. These, of course, will be randomly shuffled up and dispersed into a brand new trail. And every season it gets 1 site longer. You also will flip a new season card. So here we have the Season of Flowers. Parks cost 1 water less to visit. And then you may have noticed there were loose tokens on the trail site before. That comes from the weather pattern listed on the season. So you will place this pattern on the sites starting at the second site. So this one is water, sun, water, sun, water. Starting at the second site, so 1, 2. We'll repeat this pattern course, your token trees. So they're within reach for everyone, and place the board game in the center. The board has little notations of where each of the cards go, so they match with the symbols on the top. So the canteens go here, and you will deal one out to each player as their starting canteen. Then you will shuffle up your seasons, and the top card will be your season to start with. Shuffle up the parks deck, and the first 3 cards will be dealt. And shuffle up the gear deck, do the same. And then, of course, you will set up your trail. So the trailhead and trail end will always be there. And this trail end piece also has a solo play side, so make sure you have the correct side up. Then you will split up these tiles into 3 sections. So you have your basic sites, which will be in every game. Then you have your advanced sites, which have a small asterisk. And then if you have 4 or 5 players, you will add this in with the basic sites. So you'll randomly pick one advanced site and add it to your pile, shuffle it up, and then disperse into your trail for the season. So that is how you set up parks, and now you are ready to play. If you happen to be playing solo mode, they also have rules for that. And the main difference is you have these added event cards to spice things up. So this one says move your back hiker to your front hiker and discard down to 4 tokens. And this has rangers immediately move again. So solo play also has rangers that get added in. So that's always good to have an option for solo play if you'd like to. So yeah, that is Parks. I do think it is a beautiful game. Very calming, meditative type game. Sort of in the vein of a Soul, where it's well received because it's not too hard to learn, and it's very lovely looking. But on the flip side, it does have limited replayability. Of course, there is the shuffling of the trail, but in general, the gameplay and the strategy is not complex enough to warrant a lot of replays with this game. I also think some of the rules are a little bit fiddly. There's a lot of caveat rules, which doesn't make it the most elegant. I think you can a little bit see that they had ideas in mind that they wanted to put into the game in order to mirror hiking, and then had to build the rules around those things to fit the image they had in their head of all the different things hikers do. I do think it's a fun play for sure, but just keep in mind it's maybe better for newer board game players, and don't depend on playing it a million times, because it might get a little old. So
Oui.